Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. So today I am back to do the BookTube Journey Tag, which was created by Katie over at Books and Things. As a way for BookTubers to kind of chronicle our experience with BookTube from start to present day. So without much further ado, let's just get into these questions because there's quite a few of them. Question number one is, how long have you been watching BookTube? You may be surprised to know that I have been watching BookTube since November of 2013. I don't know the exact date, but I know it was November because it was towards the end of my first term of university. I was quite a big watcher of the lifestyle and beauty content. I remember one of the beauty YouTubers that I was watching did a book haul, and then up in the recommended section was a book haul by Lena Norms, who at the time went by the name Just Kiss My Frog and did a lot more bookish content. She still does book content now, but it was a lot more concentrated towards books back in 2013. And it was a very good timing for me to start getting into BookTube because I had been thinking about the fact that I had not really read much in 2013. And I've mentioned before that for about 4 years or so during secondary school, I barely read anything at all, and I was really missing it. I wanted to get back into reading, but I felt the pressure of like university, of my studies, of feeling like during your free time you can't be spending it reading, you should be doing work as much as possible. But watching BookTube videos was really the motivation that I needed. And so in 2014 I made it my resolution to read at least 30 books, spurred on by recommendations that I was seeing from Lena, from Sana at Books and Quills, from Ariel Bissett, from Rosianna House Rojas, among many other booktubers that I was discovering. And then I ended up actually reading 79 books in 2014, and then it just went from there. Question number two is, how long have you been making BookTube videos? And to say that I had started watching BookTube in 2013, it took until May the 20th, 2020 for me to actually start making them myself. I'm filming this on the 1st of April, this is probably coming out in May at this point, so it has been almost 4 years since I started making BookTube videos myself. Question number three, what made you start making videos? Look at those dates, you can probably guess. It was the pandemic. I had wanted to make BookTube videos pretty much from when I learned that there was such a thing as BookTube, but I have always been a very shy, anxious person, very scared of putting my opinions online or just generally anywhere. But the main reasoning that I used for not making BookTube videos was mainly technology. I didn't know anything about video editing, and I didn't think I had like the equipment to do it. I didn't think my phone had the capability. I knew that my laptop definitely didn't have the capability. And so it was kind of one of those things of, well, if I ever get like Apple products, then maybe I'll start doing it. Fast forward to 2017, I get my first iPhone in the same year that I get a MacBook Pro, and I learn fairly quickly that through AirDrop I have the capability of being able to film videos on my phone, then transfer them over to editing software on my computer, which is free. And yet somehow that was still not good enough motivation for me to actually start making videos in 2017. Fast forward to the beginning of 2019, I get given I think it was either a £20 or £30 Amazon voucher from a relative for Christmas. And I knew what I wanted to put that towards. I wanted to put that towards getting myself a tripod that I would be able to put my phone on in order to make YouTube videos. I purchased the tripod in January 2019 and nothing. I didn't do anything with it. And my main reason for not doing it was that I was doing my masters, I was in university accommodation, and I just felt way too scared to film in front of other people. I also thought it was probably going to interrupt my studies. So I thought to myself, after my masters, that's when I will start making videos. So I come back home with my tripod, with my phone, with my MacBook. I plop myself down on my bed in front of a window so that I've got good light. I start filming myself and I panic because all the while I'm stopping and starting my sentences. I'm not being able to get through things fluidly. And I thought to myself, I can't do this. I'm not capable of being able to talk in flowing run-on sentences in the way that I am sure that everybody that I watch seems to do. You know, I knew that editing software was a thing, but I just thought you aren't cut out for being able to talk in front of people. You are not cut out to talking in front of a camera. This isn't for you. Fast forward to March 2020, and because I know that we're going to be locked down for a while, because I didn't have my job, I was on furlough but I wasn't working, the thought had crept up into my brain of maybe this is the time to start doing videos because you're never going to have such free time ever again. But once again, I thought to myself, you can't do it. You are not capable of talking in a coherent, flowing way. This is not for you. And then I actually ended up watching a video by Katie, the creator of this tag from Books and Things, where she talked about how she creates BookTube videos. And through it, she showed her editing process. Firstly, how she has to slow down her videos because she admits that she talks quite fast, so she usually has to edit the speed right down. But also, she was showing full clips of her talking about a book and the amount of times that she either trips up over her words, where she says the wrong thing and has to say it again, where she ums and ahs and has to cut out the ums and ahs, and showed a clip where it was the full clip talking about the book and then the edited one, and that just lit a fire under me. The light bulb went off and I thought, you know, if Katie, who I think is so eloquent and so smart and so well spoken, if she has trouble with this and she's been doing it and has been successful doing it, then there is no reason that me with my editing software and ability to edit videos, there is no reason reason that I shouldn't be able to do this too. And so in May, I sat myself down, I filmed 2 videos back to back. I was so anxious and so nervous about this that I ended up giving myself a pressure headache, which was another kind of like siren going off in my brain of saying, maybe you're just going to make yourself sick doing this, maybe this isn't for you. But then I filmed again the next day and didn't get that same headache. So it was clearly just the first time jitters. And yeah, posted May the 20th. I was really worried about what friends and family might say, but actually they were all really lovely because they knew I'd wanted to do this for quite a while. And so yeah, we went from there. Question number 4 is, are there any people who have played a significant role in your BookTube journey? And there are too many to count, to be honest. I made such great friends, particularly in that first year. Kieran from KD Books, especially in that first year, he jumped into my comment section from about a month in. Spent the first couple of years just mildly bullying each other about reading Les Mis and Ulysses. All good fun. I'm sure there's no lasting scars, but especially in that first year is where I started talking to Leanne from Leanne Rose, Charlotte Thoroughly Enjoyed Books, Shannon from 155 Books, Karis from Karis's Corner, Rosie from Sparkles Books, Aoife at Pretty Purple Polka Dots, and Sylvie from the TBR Diaries. We still talk to each other pretty regularly. I was really surprised in the first few months to get quite a few shout outs, but the one that really did give my subscriber count a massive boost and I was very grateful for was from Lucy at Lucy the Reader. I was just so surprised that she even watched my videos, to be honest. And then fast forward a few months later, Katie from Books and Things also gave me a shout out, and that ended up pushing me over 1,000 subscribers, which I was so surprised by and so grateful for. There are a lot of people who I started doing BookTube with who sadly no longer are doing it, but definitely played a pivotal role in keeping me going. And then fast forward to now, where I've gotten to meet a lot of people either through individual meetups or the big BookTuber meetups that have happened the past few months. I feel bad because I'm never going to be able to in one video talk about all of the amazing people who have supported me from BookTube and who I've made friends with, but I am really, really grateful to all of you. Question number 5 is, what kind of books do you like to read? And I always say kind of my big 5 when it comes to genres are historical fiction, history as in non-fiction history, romance, classics, and then contemporary / literary. I kind of view those as being the same in my brain, even though I know they are different. Question number 6 is, how has that changed since you started BookTube? That has definitely shifted. I definitely didn't really read any romance books when I started BookTube. You know, I would read the odd like chick lit, but it wasn't like a main factor of my reading. Maybe I would read like 1 or 2 of those books each year, whereas now like purely romance books are part of my reading diet and I love reading them. That was very much spurred on by listening to the Heaving Bosoms podcast, but also BookTube influences as well. Over the past few years there's been a really big boom in people talking about romance, so that definitely probably influenced me. I think I read pretty much the same amount of historical fiction and history non-fiction, maybe a little bit more historical fiction, because when I started my channel I was really surprised when people would talk about my channel in conjunction with historical fiction. I genuinely thought that I didn't read much and I didn't know a lot about historical fiction, but that quickly became the thing that people talked about my channel about and people knew me for. Non-fiction history I read pretty much the same amount. I'm kind of sad that classics has kind of taken a bit of a nosedive in terms of my reading. It's still something that I enjoy, it's still something I like to talk about, but I probably don't read as many classics as I did to start off with, but they are never out of sight, never out of mind. And then probably the thing that has dipped the most is probably contemporary and literary fiction. Even in the past year or so I've kind of slowed down my reading pace on those kind of books. I know a lot of booktubers get really into literary prizes every year and I always pay attention to them, but they don't tend to dictate my reading quite the same as they used to. Even back in 2022, I was trying to read a lot of like the Women's Prize for Fiction. And like I say, it's probably the prize that I am the most interested in. But if I don't see books that I'm immediately interested in reading, then I'm not gonna force it. I'd much rather wait for other people to review these books than read it straight away just because it's on a prize list. Question number 7 is, what kind of videos do you most like to make? And I don't know if there's any particular kind of video that I like to make. I think I do a mix of the standard BookTube things, wrap-ups, reviews, book hauls. I'm trying to bring recommendations much more into my channel now because I did a lot of that when I started and have kind of tailed off. Honestly, I think a massive reason why I've tailed off on doing recommendation videos is because I don't have my bookshelves behind me anymore since I moved out. So my book collection is just not like front and center in my mind. I'm not seeing it every day and therefore I don't think, I could do a video about these kind of books. I'm a very visual person. Visuals do a lot for my brain. I have started to do a lot more individual book reviews than I used to do and I've really enjoyed that process. I feel really proud of those videos because they do scare me to do because I have to script them, but I think they are invaluable, not just for viewers but also for myself and for, as I say, my poor memory. Question number 8, how has that changed since you started on BookTube? Do you think your video making style has changed over time? I don't necessarily think my video making style has changed over time. As I say, because I moved from Huddersfield to Oxford, I'm no longer at my parents' home, I no longer have the space that I used to for books, and therefore things apparently that are out of sight are out of mind for me. I do feel the limitations of not having all of my books with me, and I felt like I wasn't having as many like oddball ideas as I did when I started my channel. For example, one of my favourite videos that I did when I started was recommending a book for every song in Hamilton. I did that over 2 videos, one for Act 1, one for Act 2, and that was a bit of a harebrained scheme that I only had because I was thinking about Hamilton and then I was looking at my books and thinking, As I say, I'm a very visual person. Being able to see things and kind of have harebrained schemes as a result of what I'm seeing is quite a common occurrence for me, and that happens far less when I don't have my books around me. Question number 9 is, do you script and or edit your videos, and has that changed over time? I don't think that has changed too much. I always at the very least have pretty good notes for most of the videos that I do. Because I say I have a terrible memory, I'm also not a very like free-flowing, coherent speaker, and I do need a little bit of structure in order to keep my thoughts together. And because I do stop and start in my speech, because sometimes I will trip over words, yes, I definitely have to edit my videos quite intensely. I have a lot of admiration for people who just sit down and can just talk for 30 minutes without stopping and without having to like pause to think about what they're saying, or without tripping up over words or just saying the wrong word. I have a lot of admiration for you, and I like to think that I am getting better. I think at the very least I'm getting more confident in talking as a result, not just of BookTube, but also from doing like musical theatre society. Having to get up in front of people to sing then makes you think, why are you so scared to talk in front of people? I also, as part of my job, every now and then have to talk on Zoom on camera, like reading out pitches for books, giving my thoughts and ideas about books. So you know, it all like loops around together. I still feel like if somebody made me stand up in front of people and do a presentation, I'd still be very nervous about that. I think I probably would freeze up, but it is getting better over time. And because I have been getting more confident in talking about my opinions, I feel like just talking to people in my day-to-day is getting easier. I do think I am more comfortable with people and more confident in talking about my thoughts and opinions than I used to be. Not always, but most of the time. And I think that's thanks to BookTube letting me organise my thoughts a little bit more. It has overall been very helpful. I do, however, have to script pretty intensely any individual book reviews that I do, because I do want them to be helpful for people. I want them to be pretty coherent. I do find myself having to really draft those scripts out, which is why they have been few and far between to begin with on my channel, because just the scripting process would be quite scary. There is nothing scarier than a blank page, but I have tried to make a more concerted effort this year to do more review videos, which means that I have to script a lot more than I did, and I don't think that is a bad thing if the end result is that individual book review. Question number 10 is, what is the most viewed video on your channel? By far the most viewed video on my channel is a breakdown of 8 different cast recordings, concerts, albums of Les Mis the musical. So while it is not entirely BookTube, it is book related. This was all part of my Les Mis read along that I did with Kieran over at KD Books, and a question that came up again and again, and one that I just wanted to answer on my channel, was which of these 8 big versions of Les Mis should you watch first? Though I will give the caveat that one of those versions that I do not talk about is the original Broadway production, and my god have I had many comments about that. If I could change one thing, if I could turn back time, it would have been to go back and find that Broadway cast album, but I swear to god it wasn't there. It didn't come up in my research, but apparently it was a massive album that I shouldn't have missed. But yeah, that has around about 19,000 views at the current moment of filming. The next most popular video is my review of Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, which I think in comparison only has about 8 or 9,000 views. The Les Mis video just really took off last year, and it always pops up on my analytics as something that people are still watching. I would guess around about like 40 to 50 views every day at the very least. And you know what, I am pretty proud of that. I put a lot of work into that video, even if people still get cross at me for not including the Broadway album. And I am really tempted to do a similar thing for Sweeney Todd, particularly with the new album featuring Josh Groban. Though that would be a very biased video, because I don't know if I'm going to find a Sweeney Todd who is better in my mind than Josh Groban. I'm such a Josh Groban fangirl. I would have a lot to say anyway about the different Sweeney Todd albums, so that's an idea that is percolating in my brain. I might not do it, but I am tempted because, as I say, I have a lot to say. Question number 11 is, what's your favourite video you've ever made? That's a mean question. I am very proud of the Les Mis video. As I say, I'm very proud of any of my individual book reviews because they took a lot of work to do. I was really happy with my 50 romance books video that I did a few months ago. Despite the fact that nobody has watched that video, I was still really excited about making it. One of those videos that, as I say, was percolating my brain. I was really proud of myself for actually filming it, editing it, which was a mammoth job, and then finally having it out in the world. So even though I know my romance book videos don't tend to get a whole lot of views, I'm glad to have made it myself. I also have another video that is in the works that is all about Shakespeare, which I have been putting quite a bit of work into, even even though it's looking like it's not going to come out in April, because over the past weekend I've doubled my workload for that video. So at some point I will get this video done, I will get it filmed, edited, uploaded and out there for you, and I already feel really proud of it even though I've not filmed anything for it yet. But look forward to that because I am hoping that it's a good video. Question number 12 is, do you have a favourite book you read because of BookTube? I actually have a couple of videos that I will link down below which were fiction and non-fiction respectively that I have read because of BookTube, because of recommendations from individual booktubers. So I stand by all of those. Question number 13 is, do you have a favourite BookTube experience to tell us about? So as I've mentioned a lot recently, the 2 BookTube meetups that happened in 2023 and 2024 respectively were both absolute highlights of my BookTube experience. Going to Katie's book launch in March of 2023, that was also really lovely, and I think really spurred us all on to wanting to meet up again to do the bookshop crawls. But also one from quite early on was my birthday live stream that I did back in 2021. I just had such a really lovely evening with my friends talking about books, and I just felt a lot of love on those occasions. Also the live streams that we used to do, like Sunday live streams in 2021, they made me really happy. Recently myself and Shah and Shannon did one so that we could get through more of Babel by R.F. Kuang, and it just took me back to 2021, those lovely like lazy Sundays where we would all sit down with a cup of tea and the book that we were reading, and it just made me really want to do some more live streams, do a few more reading sprints. Do let me know if you'd be interested in that. It couldn't be every week because that's not going to work with my schedule, but I feel like every now and then, every few weeks would be quite nice. Question number 14 is, what does your book collection look like? A mess. As I say, I moved down to Oxford in 2021, which meant that I had to leave all of my lovely bookshelves behind at my parents' home. They are still there, they are still looking beautiful, but it means that every time that my parents come round I have to offload books that I have accumulated down here, and so I never have like a full bookshelf to show you. I'd quite like to do another bookshelf tour of the books that are at my parents' home because I have reorganised them over time, but I don't know if people would be interested in that because they're not the bookshelves that they see. I mean, you don't see any bookshelves from me anymore, but because I'm not around them all the time, does it feel like a little bit false for me to show you those books? They are all my books, but I'm just not around them all the time. Question number 15 is, what advice would you give to new people starting a BookTube channel? I think you should always go in with the expectation of just meeting friends rather than getting loads of subscribers. BookTube is really not the place to go to get lots of subscribers, especially if you're reading the kind of books that I read. But going with the perspective of wanting to make friends with people, wanting to chat books, that I think should be your only expectation. My other advice would be that you just need to keep making videos. It is okay to take breaks if you are feeling burnt out. I definitely do take breaks. I'm trying to organise my life a little bit more so that I am taking fewer breaks than I was, but there was a period where at least once a year I would take like a month-long break. It is important to do that, but if you are feeling discouraged and dissuaded by the YouTube algorithm, by the fact that you're not getting views and not getting subscribers, getting annoyed by that and then not posting anything is not the way to solve that problem. I see so many people getting frustrated that they're not getting views. They then pack it in for a few months, then a few months later decide that they're going to come back, they're going to kickstart things, only to then get discouraged even more when, because they've not been posting regularly, the YouTube algorithm doesn't remember them and doesn't pick them up. And then it just becomes a constant stop-start cycle. I think you are much better off just keeping on posting. The way that they say that a writer should write every day, I think you should be posting at least semi-regularly, because the only way that you get better is to keep on doing it. You are not going to get things right from the beginning, but you will never improve if you don't keep on doing it. And as I said in the first point, you should not be doing it for views and subscribers anyway. I think you should be doing it because you want to have a conversation with people, and I promise you, you will have a much better experience if that is how you're going about it. Then finally, question number 16 is to tag some people. I feel like this video is going to be coming out quite a bit later than Katie originally posted it, so I will have to have a look at who's already done this before I tag anybody, but all my tags will be down below. Do let me know of any of your answers to these questions if you are a booktuber. Alternatively, if you're not a booktuber, let me know why that is. Are you keen to post anything? Have watching these BookTube Journey tags made you more or less likely to want to start doing videos? I would love to hear from you. Personally, I feel like we need as many people on here as possible. I often hear people saying that BookTube is a saturated market and therefore you shouldn't do it. Personally, my suspicion is that people who say that are only saying it because they would view you as competition and therefore are trying to discourage people from starting. Maybe that is a cynical take, but I don't know. I always get my hackles up when I hear people saying it, because people have been saying that BookTube is a saturated market since I started watching BookTube, and it was one of the things that put me off from doing it. And then I started making BookTube videos and found myself very much welcomed. But anywho, I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.